Lord of mercy.
Lord of mercy. Hey y'all.
It
Welcome to
is.
our pop-up live. I gotta change my settings so it shows up.
Um, Jesus.
I know. Call on them.
I need them bad.
Me too. Every
Let's.
minute, every day, every hour. I need them. All right, let's see. It's just I don't know why it don't pop up.
It hasn't even shown up yet on mine.
No.
Mm-mm.
It's well, you know what? It probably is a delay because it says I'm live.
Oh, it just popped up.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
It
Okay,
just
there we go.
popped up.
Every
Let's
minute, every day, every
showing
hour.
up yet on
Okay,
mine.
there we go. Come on. I'm trying to. Oh, I definitely been in the bed all day.
Must be
Listen,
nice.
it
Must
was
be.
nice. I got to go back to work tomorrow though.
Must be nice. I should have bought my champagne.
No, you shouldn't have. Oh God.
But you know what? I think the part about, so I was having my romantic night,
Okay.
and and someone asked me what was I doing, and I was like, I'm having a romantic night. And then they proceeded to then say, I'm confused because it's only romantic if it's with another person. So are you with another person?
I mean, I think that's a valid question because no one really says they're having a intimate night by themselves. So I think
Right.
that was
But
a valid
why, but
question.
can we normalize that? If I'm saying
Say
if
self-care, not
but
romantic.
if you are interested in me,
Yeah.
right? And I
Mhm.
say I'm having a romantic night in,
Yeah.
the fact that you would automatically think that it would involve another person implies that you would think that I'm not being honest with you about my dating situation.
Oh, now listen here, BB.
Is that not true? So I'm confused because
Hey y'all. So listen, y'all. Welcome in. Today I've been in the house all day. BB's been working. I've been in the house, but we decided we wanted to do. We have these very candid conversations amongst ourselves about relationships, and so we decided that we just wanted to let y'all in on this conversation. Now, if there's anybody that's on here that says, "Hey, listen," that kind of got some sense though. No, you can't come here talking crazy, but you want to be on tonight, let us know, and then we can send you a link to join us tonight. But we wanted to have this conversation about relationships. I mean, I'm single. I've been single for 5 years now, married 10 years. And so being with someone like
oh my
since
gosh, what are my stats?
where are you at?
I
Talk
don't
to
know.
me.
I was married for. Dang, I gotta tell the whole story. Met my baby daddy at very young.
Yeah.
Married, had a kid. We've been divorced longer than we've been married at this point. So we've been divorced over 10 years. I've dated. I've had other relationships. I don't know. I feel like that relationship at this point, I don't even is worth. I guess it's. I always have to tell the story because it's part of
Okay.
the evolution of my love story. But won't. But let us know where y'all from. Drop in the chat where you guys
Yeah, where y'all from?
are
What y'all got going
from.
on? This is gonna be super. It's not real formal tonight.
I have
But
some questions.
we have some we could just got some questions and some things we just want to talk about. So we're just gonna let me just tag some people in the room. But yeah, and so listen, y'all, I think that this is a topic that we don't talk about enough. I know particularly, for those of us that go to church, it's definitely not a topic that we talk about enough in the church about dating and the dating life and like what does that really look like? And then just being realistic about how you feel and all those different kind of things because I mean, I think it's just natural that we do desire to be in relationship. It is a natural feeling for you. I'm gonna say to want and to desire to be in a romantic relationship. And anybody else that tells you something outside of that is crazy. It is a natural feeling to want to be in a relationship, but we also want to be in healthy relationships, not just being in a relationship, but you want your relationships to be healthy,
But
right?
that's even like a thing in itself, right? Because I think we talked about this before. How health is we're evolving. And
Yeah.
so sometimes we meet people maybe not at our best, right? But maybe you've made some progress, but like you meet someone and you're still not at your best. And so does that disqualify you from wanting love or being able to love? And I think that's really hard. I think that's really hard. Like I've met some amazing people, I would say recently, who, they've been through some things, they've experienced things, and I think they do have a really good idea for what they want. But maybe it's fear, right? Maybe fear is
Oh, he said church dating can get cringy. I
super
agree.
cringy. Brandon,
Super
yes,
cringy.
super
I
cringy.
agree. Like, I think that's why we don't really, I
No.
wouldn't really call it like church dating, but it can get cringy. Like, just
Ugh.
all the things that it's just so much that we feel like has to go into it when we talk about as it pertains to church dating. And the reality is that like dating is dating, you
Yeah,
know?
like I will say this
Do
though.
people
I
even
doubt
date
if I'm going to
anymore?
meet my
Like,
person.
let's just start there. Do people even date anymore? Like, what I'm
Yes,
noticing is that a
yes.
lot of these have just become situationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we really getting to know one another, or is it just become something to where, hey, we cool, you cool, we hang out, and that's it? Like, but there's nothing that's like concrete. Like, we've just formed a lot of bonds with a lot of different people, and there's not and there's not really, I wouldn't call that dating. You know what I'm saying?
That's not dating. That's the talking to. And so I guess there's this like we need to define like the stages of relationships, but the talking to phase be getting real hot and heavy for some
Yeah.
folks. And maybe that's inappropriate and we need to figure out like what the boundaries are in like in some of those spaces. But like church dating can be extremely cringy. I'll be honest and say like I don't necessarily feel like I will meet my husband person in church,
Oh,
right? Um
tell me
and
more.
yeah, like
Hey, Tancha, why you feel like you're not gonna meet your
I don't feel like I would meet my husband person in church because it's like that whole experience is super cringy.
yeah.
And it's like, and I will say, caveat being like the last two people that I've dated that have been super churchy have been, it's been cringy. There's been some cringy experiences, right? And so, like, I can only speak
Ooh.
on my personal experience, but I have met some men who honor God. And just because they don't go to church every Sunday, they know they have a relationship with, they pray, um, whatever. It just weird. Have you seen them every Sunday after you stop dating them? So I have never dated someone that I went to the same church with because I feel like that is super cringy. Like
Mm.
y'all go to the same church, y'all see each other every Sunday, or y'all in Bible study, and then when the relationship goes south or
Okay, no, listen. So I've dated someone that I went to church with, and go and so I think that it's whatever you want it to be, right? And I think it's a
sure.
maturity thing as well. And I think too it depends on how you and the person in, you know. But if you, I think this is the part for me. I
Mm,
think that as it pertains to relationships, if it doesn't work, I feel like we take it to heart that something didn't work. But my thing
yeah,
is, if it didn't
yeah,
work, it just didn't work. Like, I don't understand
yeah.
why it has to be like a thing because the person you was with didn't work. And I think that's the part that makes dating difficult is because every time you don't work with someone, it's like we take it to heart and it almost creates offense. And
Well,
so when
because we want to blame one person for the
right,
relationship not working, right? And so instead of just saying, "Hey, we just aren't a good fit," I think like that's the maturity level you were talking about, right? So instead of just saying, "Hey, we just weren't a good fit. We wanted to try
yeah,
this thing out. It didn't work out. How do we just part ways amicably?" I think. And so I remember this particular relationship, and I remember like us having the conversation, like as friends and as a friend group, and saying, "Listen, like you have to end it before it gets to that point where it's unreconcilable,
right.
right?" And I think that's where we mess up. And I'll be honest and say, like that's maybe
That's a good
maybe been
point.
like a flaw that I've had in some past relationships that like you want to hold on to the thing until the thing is unreconcilable And
Yeah.
that's where it's unhealthy, and that's where it starts to get toxic. Like, I feel like my marriage ended that way. Like, we got to the point where we stopped being friends instead of just ending things at that point.
Right.
um
Before it gets to the point
but
where it gets to
it's
be like
messy and it's
irresponsible. And
ugly and it's,
absolutely.
yeah. Social media is not a dating manual. Listen, that is so fact. That
It
is
is
so fact,
true.
because everyone, it's based off of like what you and your person decide. Like, I think people want these Instagram relationships, but that's just not, it's
Can
not
I tell you
all
what
there
I'm
is.
tired of though? I'm tired of the conversation about women in dating and like the aspects of I seen a clip. I think I reshared it in my stories the other day, and she was just saying, "I don't care where you take me. If you take me to Longhorn, if you take me here, like as long as I'm with you and we're building whatever, like I'm cool with that." And I think for me, I'm tired of having this conversation about like if a man doesn't spend, ladies, you might not like me, but it's how I feel. If you don't feel
Mhm.
this way, that's okay. But I'm tired of having this conversation about how much a man needs to spend on a date.
On a
Let
date.
and for me, I just feel like I don't know you, you don't know me. We're getting to know each other. And the idea that in order for a man has to spend all this money to prove himself, you know, to you or prove something or whatever the case may be in the dating space is wild to me. Like the fact that you're saying like, oh, Cheesecake Factory is not enough or Longhorn is not enough. Like, please take me on a coffee date because the reality is that I might not like you. You know what I'm saying? So
But I
it's
think that's what we have to figure out, right? Like, it should be an investment in both people, right? So like, it goes both ways. I'm investing time, energy. At some point, we as women, we do also invest money in all of the things. Uh and so it's a matter of, are you also being pursued intentionally? I don't know, and I have never experienced a man who's been pursuing me intentionally and has ever brought up the cost of a date,
mm,
right? It's only been an issue when, like, me and the person, or they knew I wasn't necessarily into them, or just when it was weird, right?
yeah,
When it was weird, when the energy was off. Dating now has almost become prostitution.
I
I
agree.
would
I'm
say,
not
I would
gonna lie.
agree with that. I
I'm
would agree with that.
I
I
would
would
agree.
definitely agree
Because
with
I
that.
just be like, why do we feel like we gotta why do we put this on a demand for them to spend X amount of dollars? But let me tell you this. What you just said was so true though. Because I was listening to the Anthony O'Neill the podcast that he did, and he was talking about like intentionality, right?
Oh, with
And
Lapierre?
yes.
Ooh, man,
Can we
listen,
talk
that's
about
probably
it,
one of
y'all?
my
Now, listen,
favorites right
before
now.
it goes to that, as a man, we want to know what we are investing in, though. Absolutely, I agree.
But
Now,
I
can
think,
you?
but I will say this though, like, I have been talking to someone who has watched me, right? And who has, I feel like, you watch a person, you figure out who they are, and if they are posting who they post to be, right? Can
Yeah,
we also say that if they're posting, or if you get to experience them in their authentic self, it should give you a glimpse of who the person is. And
right,
so sometimes you just have to find yourself in spaces with that person, asking the right questions,
right.
and then you can eliminate you not investing in someone who doesn't meet the same standards as you, right? Like, for me, everything is a conversation. But I will say, like, some of the best conversations you will have with me, maybe over a coffee or a dinner. Like,
Yeah.
use those opportunities to get to know me on a more intimate level. That's if you choose to get to know me better.
But I don't think that we are as intentional. Like I hear a lot of people saying, like, I want to be married, I desire to be married, I want a partner, but I also don't feel like there is an intentionality behind it either. You know
Of
what I'm
course.
saying? Like I just feel like it's like let's go with the flow. Now I'm not saying like everything has to be rushed
Ooh.
because you do have to get to know the person.
Oh,
I know,
the
but the
dreaded
reality,
words.
I
Go with
hate
the
it.
flow.
Let's just go
What
with
are
the
we
flow.
flowing?
Let's just see where this goes,
That's
right? And
that's
I'm just
some
like,
words I can't
but
say.
that's also not being intentional either. You know?
Oh, most are attempting to date themselves through others. And so right. So when we started this, I said, so I was having a me date night, right? It's what I chose to do for me. I had some personal wins, so it was given champagne, cake, candles. And I do that for me,
Yeah.
right? But I will say that because I set the standard for myself that when I ask my person, like, like, what do you consider romantic? Because if this is what I already do for myself, if you think you're gonna come less than that, that's false.
But I'll say this, we also have to be very intentional about sharing. Um, I think we also have to be extremely intentional about the language too, right? Because I think that we just believe that people are just supposed to know what's
Oh,
happening, or like what
mm,
you want or what you desire. And I think a lot of times, men, you don't speak up because you feel like, okay, is she going to receive what I'm saying or whatever? It's not always been a safe space. So you tend to hold yours in, versus women sometimes we do
oh,
speak up, but there are but we're also not intentional about being real about what we desire and what we want. And then
yeah,
sometimes we have to know, is this something that I really desire, or is it something that I've seen other people get and now I desire it? So I think
that's real.
all in
That's
all, we
real.
really need to understand, like, what is it that I want? What is it that I desire on a realistic field, right? And I'm not going to ask you anything else beyond what I'm willing to put out
But
myself.
are you comfortable, right? But are you also comfortable with articulating your wants and needs, right? And when you don't get them, are you not willing to compromise? Right? Like
Right.
you can't say I want these things and then be like, oh, but maybe he didn't. I mean, like, well, he kind of did a little bit. Well, he either he did or he didn't, right? And the same with
Okay.
us.
No, it's also okay. So I get what you're trying to say too. When you don't get those things, are you still willing to be a part of the process? Now I'll say
Mhm.
this: it kind of really depends on, you have to know what your non-negotiables are. Like
For
you
sure.
have to know, like, what
Taco is
are
not ready
those
to be
things?
married. And there's another good question in here too. Should you date?
You
Oh,
gotta
here's a
know.
good one.
Okay, really quickly, but you have to know what are the things that you're willing to be like, okay, this is cool. And then what are the things that you're like, no, like, so if going to church is big for you, then
Mhm.
you have to know that, you know what, if the person is not going to church, that doesn't work for me, right? But sometimes we will compromise and then get upset later on. And this is what I told somebody the other day: you can't get upset with somebody about something that they didn't agree to, right?
Yeah,
So
well,
if I
true.
didn't agree to be this person to you, you can't get upset with me because I have not become that person to you. I didn't agree to that. That was what you had, an expectation that you put inside your mind about what you thought I was going to be. So,
Yes,
but we can go through our
yes.
questions as we carry on. But
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
we
So this
need to
one
know,
was
what
really
are the things
good.
that we're not willing to move on? What's the question?
Yeah, like, I'll be honest and say like there's been this conversation about like women being also being realistic about their list, right? And my the caveat to that is if you aren't willing to be realistic or if you aren't willing to edit your list or whatever, then you also have to be willing to then wait and being patient till someone meets all of or checks all of those boxes for you. And if that happens, and if it doesn't happen, don't become bitter in your wait.
Yeah.
Like don't get
I
mad
think
at people just
also
because they
we
don't
need to
meet those needs.
But you also, sometimes we're creating lists without even dating. Can I tell you guys something? Like,
Ugh, yeah.
dating is, you're gonna learn more about yourself in dating than you're gonna learn sometimes even about the person. Like
But
I
how
know in
serious
dating,
do you have
I've
to get? How serious does it have to get? Because I feel like dating or the talking to stage are not the same. So that which is a good segue into this
I
question, right?
agree.
Should you
Okay,
date
yeah.
one person at a time or have your options open, like dating multiple people?
Listen, I believe in dating multiple people. I don't believe in sexing, right? We're not doing that. But
Okay.
dating and communicating and meeting people and having conversation with people, I believe in dating multiple people. Now, when it comes to the thing where you're like, okay, we're exclusively dating, I guess you can say, or this person wants to court me, all right, cool. But as far as like the dating space and what dating is
But
supposed
what
to
do we
look like and
consider
be like,
dating? I don't even. I
I
think it starts well before then, because there's people
converse
that
well talking.
I ain't never dated, but we done talk.
I mean, I guess that's the same thing. And
No,
nowadays
it's
it
not the
seems
same.
like,
It can't possibly be the same,
ha,
right? Like there's some people
nowadays
that could
it is.
definitely
Dating and no, dating and talking
and
is the same
talking
thing.
to are the
Courting,
same.
now
Oh,
dating and courting are two different things, but dating and talking is the same thing. I don't
Absolutely
know.
not.
Y'all help me out in the chat. Do you guys think that
They're the
dating and
same.
talking,
The dating and talking to phase are the same, y'all. Like,
they
please
are
drop
the
that in the chat
same?
because I'm very curious. I don't
I
believe
need to
so.
know. Y'all let us know. Should you should ask
You
for
should ask. Yeah, so that for me, so asking for exclusivity is a dating measure, right? And
right?
so my expectation of a man who is intentional about me and who is asking for time, right? It's just, guys, we just vibing. Guys, so there's people that you will vibe with. There are people
Okay.
that you will vibe with.
She
And you
said
will
she
have
thinks it's the same.
conversations, and some of those conversations never
Brandon
lead
said,
to a date. They
Bree,
never lead to a date.
Brandon said dating and talking are the same thing.
No,
Okay,
no,
dating
because
and
there's some
talking are
people
the
that
same
I
thing.
have
So there's
talked
the
to and they
title.
ain't never been on a date with me. We ain't dating. You ain't never, listen, you have never said, can I take you to lunch? Can I take you to dinner? We just talking, Stink. We just talking.
I don't
It's just
listen. I mean, the chat
conversation.
says that they agree that dating and talking the same thing, but being exclusive though is something totally different. It is, but
Yeah.
dating and talking, I think, is the same thing,
But you
and I
can
think
date.
you should date
So for
multiple
me, it's
people.
we can talk, right? You can talk to all the people. You can have conversations, be friendly, all of the things, right? And then it moves into dating being requires a little bit more intentionality. So are you asking me out? Are you being intentional about my time? Like, hey, do you wanna come over? You wanna watch a movie? Like that. Now we getting into a dating phase, right? And even in that, you still have to ask for exclusivity.
Absolutely. Now I agree. Now we exclusively exclusive. If we dating, we talking. But
And
I
when
believe.
we're exclusive, I also have to tell the other people that I was talking to, is the courtesy is that,
Uh,
hey, I've had an amazing time talking to you. Like, it's been great. The vibes have been wonderful, but I am choosing to date one person,
I mean, yeah, but I
and I'm
believe it.
choosing to
But
date
we talking.
someone,
But in the
and we're
meantime.
exploring this relationship.
I agree. But I feel like we have, but I'll say this, we have to have the conversation about being exclusive though. You just can't assume that you're going to be exclusive, that you're just exclusive with somebody. So there has to be definitely a conversation about what that looks like. And then being able to determine like what is that, because we're also, just because we're exclusive don't mean that are we on the road.
It don't mean what.
Anyway, carry on. But I'm just saying, we just have to have the conversation
If
about.
you ask me to date you exclusively and your intent isn't to marry me, you wasting my time. And what is you
But
doing? Get out the way.
first
Does
of
us
all,
being
if you have not
exclusive
asked
need to
me,
be communicated? Absolutely.
absolutely. But if
Exclusivity
you've
has
not
to be
asked me to be
communicated.
exclusive, then we outside. And that's what I don't like sometimes in this dating space with men. I'll be honest, men, I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Y'all like to be outside, but y'all want us to be inside. And I
No,
don't like
that's
that for
fact.
me.
No,
You
that's
know what I'm
fact.
saying? I don't like that for
That
me.
is fact.
I don't like
That
that
is
for
fact.
me. If we are, if
What are
we
the
if we
boundaries
inside,
of
we
us
both
being
inside.
exclusive? Exclusivity is so all of that talking to and flirting with other people goes out the window. Like, that is the
Absolutely.
cutoff, right? Like,
We're not talking to other people if
we're
we're
not talking
exclusive.
to other people. You
No,
all I got, Stink. Like, if we are exclusive, I'm not talking to anyone else. I'm
no.
not seeing anyone else. I'm not dating. I'm not entertaining other people. And
Yep.
I respectfully have to let them know that I am dating someone, right? That
Right.
is the right. And I will say, you get, well, what I said, well, what's in business, right? You get first right of refusal. Listen, like, we
Right.
dating.
We're not like I'm not putting you're not putting me on layaway. And I'm not putting you on layaway, but you're definitely
Oh,
not finna put me on layaway. And
don't
I'm
ask
just gonna
for
be honest. That's
exclusivity
just me. And I
if
think
the
that's the
intent
first
isn't
thing.
marriage, though. I hate that. Like, don't ask to date me exclusively if the intent isn't marriage, if we've
Absolutely.
had the conversation about what we want.
Yeah. But I think too, I think we really have to be very clear on intentions, right? And listen, y'all, listen to what the person is saying, right? And so if the person is telling you that
Whew.
they're not ready, they're just not ready.
Baby,
You know what I'm
oh
saying?
Lord,
And baby, you can't make them be ready.
you can't make
And there's
nobody be
nothing
ready.
that you can do to make them be ready. And so if the person is saying they're not ready, then just believe them when they say they're not ready.
The
But let me ask
first
you,
time, believe them the
all of my
first
single people
time.
in the chat, tell me if right, not put me on layaway. All my
Right.
single people in the chat. So what's the difference between marriage and dating?
Marriage and dating. So for me, I feel like the difference is not vast between dating and marriage, which is
No.
why I think my expectations are a little bit different. So when you ask me to date you exclusively, is we almost in a trial marriage at that point, right? Because there isn't much that's going. My goal in dating is for us to figure out how we are integrated into each other's lives, right? Like,
Right.
what are we doing? Obviously, like we're business owners, so like how do you fit into, we're talking about meeting kids, and how do we travel together, how do we meet
Right.
families? We're in that space. That's what exclusivity gets you. And we're
Right.
saying that like it has to be intentional, because the goal is there isn't much difference.
So let me answer that.
How
No,
you
I'll
date
say
and how you
this. It
marry.
is it is not a difference, right? But marriage is the merging of our lives. Dating,
For
I'm not
sure.
merging my life with you. You know,
No, but it's
I'm
very
looking
much
to see where you
a
fit.
trial in of sorts, is it not?
Yeah, but I'm looking to see where you fit and align with my life. I'm
Hmm.
listening. You know what I'm saying? We are, getting to know one another, figuring out this kind of thing. But marriage is the merging of our lives together. And so in the dating space, for you to y'all like getting bank accounts together, y'all getting houses together and all that kind of stuff.
That's
You
a
know what I'm
marriage
saying? Like I
thing.
don't agree with
Yeah, that's a marriage thing.
people that are in the dating space, like going out and like getting all of these things together when you're not, if the goal is not, definitely not if the goal is not marriage and you're not married, because now you have done, now you've like integrated your life with this person and you don't even know if the end is going to be marriage. So my thing is that the difference between dating and marriage is the integration of our lives. Like in the dating space, I'm gonna be honest, everybody in the dating space may not meet my kids because
For
I'm
sure.
dating you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to see like, hey, where do you fit in this thing? Especially exclusively dating. Even if I'm exclusively dating you, doesn't mean you're gonna meet my kids. But once you're married, of course, we're merging our lives. My kids gonna be a part of your life and all that kind of stuff. And so that's the
Well,
difference
when do
between.
they meet? Because I think like once you ask me for
Oh
exclusivity,
Jesus.
because once you ask me for exclusivity, like then we need to then my thought is we're having the conversations towards marriage, right? And
Yeah.
towards like merging of lives. And I'm not saying y'all gotta be on a timeline or whatever, but
All right.
there's the conversation is there, and we're moving towards that. And so
Right.
if the thought is we're moving towards that, then we're exclusive. We should be talking about meeting family members, meeting children, and
Yeah.
consistent interaction, right?
Right.
Because I'm not marrying you, and you've never, and if you ain't ever picked my kid up from school and we married, is like, how swag,
Wow.
how did we get here?
Yeah.
Right? How did we get
And,
here?
and if you don't want to be a part of my kid's life, that's definitely not going to work. Like, there's no way that you can want me, but not want my kids. That's not for me. And I think I've had this conversation before. There's some people that are willing to. My kids are, and this is for me the toughest part about dating. I'll be honest, because I love my kids. Y'all know I love my kids, and my kids are a major part of my life. My kids live with me primarily, right?
Mhm.
And so if a person comes in, they have to know that like it's not like a father where you get your kids on the weekends, right? And I'm only having to deal with your children on a certain amount of time. If my kids are primarily with me. And so that means like there may be times I'm going out of town. There may be times where this is happening. They're involved in certain things. And so I want to know, at what level are you willing to, and are you going to be a part of my kid's life? But I think in the dating space, what we're not doing is listening. We're
Yeah.
not we're not being good listeners. At ladies, I don't care what they do for you. You need to hear what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Y'all so focused on, can they take you to the Cheesecake Factory? Can they take you to Longhorn? And then knock you
Mhm.
upside their head. And they don't know how to talk to you. And they don't appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? So you're
I
so
don't even know how we
contracted
get to that
on
part.
what they're doing for you. But the reality is that I don't care how much you do for me. I'm concerned about the language that comes out of your mouth. And is the language that comes out of your mouth,
Yeah.
does it speak of a partner? Does being with you speak of, wanting to be with me? And are your words seasoned with grace? Are you sweet? Are you like,
Mhm.
every time I turn around, are you, you, the way you speak to me? Like, those are the things that matter. So you worried about, can he take you to
Yeah.
Longhorn, but then he don't spend no time with you? You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you this: the caliber of a person matters, right? And so if you
For
want a
sure.
certain caliber of a person, please understand, baby, don't text me what I'm doing all day. I'm gonna take the
Oh,
same thing. I'm working.
oh,
I am working.
I hate
Okay.
that
Ask
question.
me
You know
again.
I hate that
I'm gonna tell
question.
you I'm working. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the man. Don't know, ain't no man. We not finna be laid up. I was talking to people. I'm like, listen, I'm not getting married. Hear me
Yeah,
tonight.
used to do.
I'm not getting married to lay up. Now, are we gonna lay up? Absolutely. But am I getting married to lay up? No, because I'm in this because, like, as a partner, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're partners and we got work to do because we got something to build. That's what I'm looking for. So if someone comes and they just want to lay up all day and then Netflix and chill, you're not gonna Netflix and chill me to death. All right. Now we're gonna have the
That's
moment,
facts. That's
but
facts.
you know what I'm saying? Like, but there
Would you
is a
ever have
discussion.
somebody try to date you with no dates? That is the thing. Like
Yeah,
people be trying to date you
absolutely.
with
And it
no
doesn't
dates.
work, which is why we're not together, because that don't work for me.
We not dating. I am not your
Um,
girlfriend.
okay, he says so dating and marriage, dating, oh, so dating is marriage without the commitment. I'm not no dating is
No.
no, that's not true. There is a level of commitment there. I'm just saying there's not a merging of our lives in a sense of like we're not merging money, merging kids, merging houses, all the other kind of stuff. Like that's not what we're doing. He said most people prefer a partnership than marriage. I agree. I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly agree. But I think the partnership is a part of, is a part of marriage. And I was in a singles group not too long ago, and I said, what I don't like is that relationships, like marriage now, it seems like
Yeah.
everything you can't do. It's like it's a death sentence now. Like, oh my God, you can't come outside. Like when you get married, you can't come outside. I'm like, but who says that? You know what I'm saying? Like that's a toxic, unhealthy relationship to think that because you're married, you can no longer go outside and you can't hang out with your boys, and you can't hang out with your friends, and you
Yeah.
can't
It's
have a
not
life.
that.
I need my man to have a life outside of me, please. You know what I'm
Please,
saying? Because
please
I
and
got a life
thank you.
outside of you. And so
Please.
I know I don't want to be stuck underneath you. And I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for all the ladies on the line.
No, speak
I'm
for us
going to help
both.
y'all tonight, though.
Speak for us
But the
both.
reality is that we view marriage as like a death sentence now.
Yeah.
I don't like that for us. Marriage is about partnership. Marriage is about building. Like marriage is about partnership and building, talking, dating, exclusively, courting marriage. Absolutely. Do you think that communication and relationships in our community are effective? Do they resolve
No,
conflicts?
no, we barely know how to
Okay.
resolve conflict within so we talk about like relationships in general, right? And so
Yeah,
what do we always say? How you do one thing is how you do all
you all
things.
think.
If you can't resolve if you can't resolve conflict within your friend group, within your family group, it's no different than when you're in an intimate relationship, and
Yeah,
sometimes even worse, right? Like,
right.
are you willing to simply have the hard conversations, and can you have the hard conversation with through the lens of you're not here to hurt me, right? Like
Right.
I need to be able to say the thing without there being you're here to attack me, you're here to hurt me. No, I'm here so that we can figure this thing out together, and I just have to ask a hard question simply because I don't know, or there's something that I'm unsure of and I need clarity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not because I'm here to attack you or that I want to accuse you of anything. And I think that's where our language becomes really important, of how we word things. But
Yeah.
sometimes we do have to be willing to hear it however it comes out, and
Right.
then say, listen, however it comes out, I'll receive it, and then we can clean it up.
But we can't
Right?
get in our feelings. We cannot get in our feelings about people asking us questions. You know what I'm saying? Isn't dating considered fornication? No, dating is not fornication. I mean, fornication is a sexual act, and I'm not saying that when you're dating, you're sexing, right?
Right.
When you're dating, you're having conversation. Marriage, sex is saved for the marriage aspect of a thing, right? So no, I'm not saying that dating is considered fornication. No,
You
they're
said
two,
Jedediah
they're
is
two
asking
totally
all the
different things.
questions. Listen,
Right. You
ask some
dating, I'm not dating, you're not, there's a level of there is a level of commitment there. But marriage takes it to, we have decided that we're going to join and merge our lives together. We fail our relationships and our communities because we do not understand proper communication with a bunch of um
emotion.
of
And
emotion.
we talk about
Absolutely.
this.
We
Yeah, and
get
we
our
talk about
feelings.
get out of your feelings. Y'all miss Bible study.
Y'all
Listen,
miss Bible
get
study
out
yet.
of
We be
your
talking about how to
feelings.
get feelings and we be in our
Get out of your
feelings.
feelings.
That's what I was saying. Like 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 we don't know how to have the hard conversations. And I think for
Without
me,
being in
like
our
I've
feelings.
learned how to have the hard conversations. Like I'm not afraid to ask you, like, where are we? You know what I'm saying? I just want clarity and I'm asking for clarity. You know what I'm saying? And
You
if
know,
you tell
I had
me,
someone tell me, I had someone say I said that I'm disappointed, and the person said, I don't like that you use that word so early, because because of how it made them feel. Like I'm always going to
yeah,
disappoint you. And I was like, well, what? I was like, what other word am I supposed to use to express how I feel? um but it challenged me, right? It challenged me with
right?
my verbiage to think, okay, so if I didn't feel disappointed, like what happened, right? To explain what happened, and then like where our communication then went wrong, right?
Now, I'll say this,
Okay.
I agree with you because I said to a guy one time that I don't feel like he considered me, right? And so he was just like, I consider you in everything, right? No, no, no. I said, I don't feel like I'm a priority.
Mm,
And they said, but I do make you a priority, right? But the reality is this, they could only do what they could do. You know what I'm saying? Like they could only maneuver and make and so for me in my eyes, what I felt like priority looked like versus what they felt like priority looked like was two totally different things. And so this is why we have to have healthy conversation because I have to be able to break down this is what I view as making me a priority. And so when I
mm,
said that, they're like, I consider you. I do all the things. Like I'm doing this. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. But
mm-hmm.
maybe it just
Your
wasn't enough for me.
experience. Yeah,
You
and
know what
your
I'm saying?
experiences are different. Your expectations are
Yes. And
different.
I
But
think
if
we
we
have to be
don't
okay with that.
communicate what those things are, and I think we all, like, sometimes we do, right? And I've seen this on both ends. Like I've had guys come to the table and there's all of these things that they want. I'm like, well, what's necessary? Like on this list, right? Like what is necessary? Like can we like get to your bare bones list of what's necessary? Because sometimes you asking for stuff that don't bit more make no sense,
That don't.
right? Like,
That
is
don't.
that necessary? Right? Like, you want somebody that's gonna cook every night. Okay, so like, is that realistic? And maybe I'm just not your person, right? Like, and
Right.
also
And that's okay.
being able to say that maybe you're just not my person because whatever. And I honestly wish more men were honest about simply saying you're not my
Yeah.
person than just letting us exist in their life,
Yeah.
right? Just be honest. Like if you have
But women
experienced
too.
something,
Be honest if like what the man is offering is just not
you're
enough.
saying
You know what I'm
you're
saying?
just
Because I'm
saying
gonna
it's
be
just
honest,
not
y'all
your thing.
men, I love y'all, but y'all do the bare minimum sometimes. And I get it, you know,
Oh,
I get it that some that the that life hasn't made it always easy. I'll just speak from the ones that I've experienced. But the bare minimum is just not enough. And I think some of y'all give the bare minimum because of how you have been hurt in the past. And so you are afraid that if you do give your all, that you know what I'm saying, what it's going to pan out to be. But like love is a risk. Let's be real.
yeah, love is a
Love
risk.
is a risk. Like you take a risk in relationships. But I think what holds us hostage is when we don't know how to get past. Like this is why there's certain things you don't need to introduce into the dating space, right? There's certain
Yeah.
things, there's certain doors that you shouldn't open in
Oh,
the dating space because sometimes once you open up them doors, baby, you can't close them.
oh,
Once you
and you get
start like,
connected with
hey,
somebody, and
people do what they want to do. Absolutely. Once we start, like even like coming to each other houses, right? Once you start coming to each other houses, it becomes like we just coming to each other houses and we
and
ain't going
them
nowhere.
dates will hold up real quick, won't they?
Right. We ain't going to no more
Them dates
dates.
will stop real quick. Them
So
dates
it's
will
like we got to
stop
be
real
careful.
quick.
Sex is another one. He said, I never met someone who was considered dating someone who wasn't having sex with that person. I mean, that's probably your interactions with other people, but there are people that are dating and not having sex. Now, I'll
Yeah,
say this if you do slip up and you have sex, absolutely, that is fornication. Do you have to live in fornication? No, you do not. So
but
just
is
because you
sex?
mess and slip up does
So
not
let's
mean
say
you
this
have to
though,
live
like,
and stay there. Go ahead.
let's be honest and say, like, sex doesn't have to be a requirement for a relationship, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you desire a deeper connection, and everybody's intentions are different, and right, so some people, they only want a partner in that way. That's your business. I ain't gonna judge you. But if you desire a deeper relationship, there are things that are prioritized well over your sexual experience, right? And sometimes those things can be the things that when you get to that point will enhance your sexual experience. I'll be honest and say you could like somebody and then y'all have sex too soon and then you're disappointed and now you don't like the person, but it's someone who may have been absolutely amazing for you, right? And because it was prematurely done, then you rob yourself of an opportunity to build a deeper relationship, and the sex is something that could have been worked on, right? That could have been improved over time, but you rob yourself of that opportunity with that person because you was together, y'all had one good little conversation, then y'all had sex, and then you was like, oh, that was whack, so you decide not to talk to the person no more, but they could have been an amazing person for you. you
Yeah,
you may end
but
up
I think
robbing
also in
yourself.
the other aspects
For sure.
of sex too soon is that you open up a door. You know what I'm saying? That if the person is not for you, it makes it hard for you to close. You know, and
Oh.
so that's why you have to be very careful, because sometimes the only thing you have in common is the bedroom, and you ain't got nothing else in common outside of the bedroom.
Nothing.
There's nothing else that you really like about that person but the bedroom. And so now you feel stuck because you like the bedroom and you're allowing the bedroom to override what I know sex is a necessity in marriage. Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. I agree. It definitely is. But it's also not the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like if that's going to be the only thing that's going to be the driving force of your relationship, you're going to fail,
For sure.
because we have to be able to have communication. We have to be like I've been in, I know people that you sex over everything. You know what I'm saying? Like married people, like
Oh, no,
there's
that's
no communication. Like they're like, oh, let's just go to the bedroom. And it's like that can't be the end all be all. Like you
yeah.
can't you can't sex over what you need to talk about. You have to be willing to have the
Hard to
hard
have that
conversations. And so
conversation.
if you don't know how to communicate in the very beginning, it's going to make it very difficult that when sex is not something that can happen, that y'all don't know how to communicate. So I think the biggest thing is like we have to learn, all in all, we have to learn how to have these hard conversations. We have to learn how to communicate with one
Mm,
another without the emotions. Like if someone is saying something they don't like, you can't get mad because they don't like it. They just don't like it.
yeah.
And being willing to make adjustments. I'm not saying that we overshadow what people do, but being willing to make adjustments of around something that somebody does not like. And so if the person says, hey, I don't like when you say that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to get my feelings because you say you didn't like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that, but we get so emotional about it.
Yes, we should court and learn
Absolutely,
each
I
other.
agree. And this is why we should learn to court. We should court to learn each other. Absolutely, I'm in total agreement of courting. We gotta learn. I'm sorry, I got a mad question, but
No, yeah, no. Ask your
but
questions.
I think that
That's key.
But I think that the courting phase is extremely important. We have to learn how to get to know one another without the emotions, right? And being honest about what you like and what you don't like, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And it goes beyond what's your favorite color. I'm sick of that question. What's your favorite color? What do you like to do? All this stuff is great, and
Ugh,
I guess we'll get to those things. You know what I'm saying? But being able to hear their heart too at the same time.
yeah. There was someone who sent that was like, listen, I don't want to have those conversations anymore. I'll send you the PDF of all of the things. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is my favorite color. And they sent the PDF, and I was like, have you been doing this a lot? It's not that I've been doing it a lot, but like those aren't the things that matter. Like let's have conversations of substance,
Yeah.
please, right?
You don't
Like
have a conversation.
I
I'm not talking to you.
why
I'm not.
are you not talking to them?
If they don't know how to have conversation, I'm not talking. I have to be able to have really intelligent conversations. If we're not sitting on this phone breathing all the time, I can't. That's ghetto.
Well, what you mean? Like, but what if so is do you feel like conversation is something that can be taught? Do you want
No,
someone who's willing to have the conversation or they have to be articulate?
you need to know how to talk. Period.
He
You
said,
need
listen, don't come over here with that.
Listen,
Don't come over
like
here
I
with
said,
crayon.
just
Don't
what
come over here with crayons and
just
no
the
coloring book.
morning message 50 million thousand times a day. The same thing I was doing 30 minutes ago.
What you doing? Yeah, that is annoying. But someone did express, right? I was like, why do you keep asking it? It's like, but when I'm short for time and I want you to know that I'm thinking about you, that's
Oh,
the that's
that's
the
sweet.
that's the thing that I ask. And I was like,
Well,
then
you know what?
just say
Say
you
you
were
thinking
thinking
about me.
about me,
Yeah, I love those kind of messages. Now the messages like
right?
I'm just thinking about you, babe. Like, listen, please let me know I'm on your mind. I
But
just
without the conversation, I would have never known that. So I'm just annoyed because you keep asking what you doing, but in your mind, what when you ask that, there's something else that's happening. But because we don't take the time to figure out what's happening with the other person, it's like, listen, I really hate when you ask me 9,000 times, what am I doing?
right. I have to communicate that.
Right. We have to communicate that. Are you able to marry someone before you have sex with them? Absolutely. If that's your
Yeah,
decision, if you two like, that's a very adult conversation that can be had and can be agreed upon with two people. And I'll say, like, what if that's the choice that two people make, then that's the choice that
yeah,
they make. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful, sustainable, long lasting relationships can certainly be built without sex being the star of the show.
yeah. Cause there's other, cause okay, so let me help y'all out, y'all married people, all right, and then those of you that desire to be married, right? Cause intimacy starts outside of the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
the like just going in the bedroom, intimacy starts before you get to the bedroom. That's
for
all I'm gonna
sure.
say.
For sure.
And so
We don't know how to talk. We don't know how to flirt anymore. We don't know how to
no,
do those things. We just want to make lewd, rude comments or whatever, and send naked pictures and think that that's the end all be all. So, like, what's supposed to happen?
yeah,
And some of you have done it and have certainly, like I said, killed the relationship before it even has a chance to get started.
absolutely.
There's no mystery. Like, we lack, I think, some of the mystery, maybe in some of our relationships, right? The fun, right? The fun in getting to know each other,
Yeah.
the mystery in the going on dates and exploring certain things. We just miss it.
He is a hot mess.
Everyone busted, listen, and they may be right. And so, and maybe that's the issue. Everyone wants to be in a rush to do that, and then but nobody's getting married.
Right. No one's getting married. No one's having the hard conversations because y'all run into the bedroom, right? Because if you can't catch my mind through conversation next,
That's
absolutely.
what are
Like I
we
think
doing?
maybe that's why. Because what happens is we do things too fast. We do things too fast. We're having sex, we're in the house, we're not dating. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
We're not
so
experiencing life together, right? Because
right.
that's one part. Listen, them 2, 3, 4 minutes is one part. It's 24 hours in a day. So them 4 minutes,
Facts.
some a little less, some a little bit more, but them couple of minutes,
Good
we
night.
making a lot of decisions. We're making life decisions based off of them couple of minutes. And there's some people that's certainly
Yeah.
getting it
That's why
wrong
I don't know
and
how to
or
have
making
conversations.
children.
But this all boils down to we don't have the right conversations.
Yeah,
And I think that's why marriages are not sustaining today. Why relationships, period. I made a post not too long ago and I said that we have become so transactional that we're no longer relational.
relational.
And everything has become about a transaction of what I can do for you and what you can do for me. And no one is saying, well, what can we do for each other? What do you bring to the table? And what do I bring to the table that we can come together and make something amazing? Right? But it's always now, like, and I'm not saying that there is not a transaction that takes place in marriage because absolutely it does. But we're missing the relational aspect, right? We're missing the relational aspect to where we're able to relate to one another. And no one's willing to relate to one another. We just want the transactional aspect. Why? Sex is a transaction,
For
right?
sure. For sure.
But where's the relational aspect before we get to the transactions?
And it's a very deep, I mean, we talk about this, uh, me and Scary, we be having deep conversations, but we talked about, like, the intimacy. So, like, yes, so Tracy said, like, intimacy
Yes.
is into me see, right? So
Yeah.
it's an internal look, or it's an embedding of your internal. We ain't gonna go through that tonight. But listen, it's I think for me it's been one of those things, like, someone asked, what is the formula for figuring out, like, if you like someone or if you're into them, right? And I was like, is it some there is, like, there's an algorithm, right? And it's, yes, physical attraction, um some may say that wealth plays into it, right? Like what someone makes or their occupation or whatever. Some may say that that goes into it. I think for me in particular, and I won't speak for anyone, but I feel like as a woman, I'm also evaluating how do I contribute, right? How do I contribute to your life, or how could I contribute to your life? And sometimes it's frustrating because, and it's easy, and it can be very easy for women to fall in love because, like, listen, if I look at what you got going on and I figure out, oh, I can make that better, I can work with that, right?
Right.
It's easy for us, and we be like, oh yeah, we be in love in 48 hours.
But
And
let
they
me
be
tell you
joking.
something. I've also gotten to the place where I was that person that I can, and not in the sexual sense, but give too much too soon, right? Make
For sure.
myself overly available. You know what I'm
Ugh,
saying? Ugh. Listen, I cringe. I've gotten
listen, I
better.
struggle. Please
I've gotten
listen.
better
Get,
because
get off my
I'm
feet, please,
because I'm
because I
naturally a
struggle right
giver.
there. Oh,
Right? I mean, I know I'm not the only one. We're naturally givers. A lot of us women, we're naturally givers. And we can attest that we have sometimes made ourselves so available, right? That doesn't give them the opportunity to step up and make them pursue us, right? Because there is no pursuit if I'm always making myself so available. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Like, we like a chase. You know, men like a chase, right? But we
mhm.
like to be chased. But if we make ourselves so available all the time, there is no chase. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes that message needs to sit there for like a little bit. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? But
I
because
struggle. Don't listen. Don't. I'm gonna turn
I
this thing
listen, I
way
struggle too.
out.
Also, don't date to get married. You married to date. Absolutely. There's a difference between courtship and dating.
Oof,
Absolutely. But a lot of
I
times we
struggle.
can
So
make
listen.
ourselves
Mm,
so available that there is no chase. You know what I'm saying? All of the things,
mm,
right? Let me cook,
mm,
let me clean, let me do all of the things. Like, I'm giving you all of the things. So
mm.
when it comes down to, they're like,
Woo.
what else is there for you to give me? There is no real suspense. Now I'll say this, you don't, because I've heard this, right? I just want to know, are you wife material? You know, if you marrying a wife, let's be real. You know, if this person is wife material. Me being able to cook does not make or take away my ability of being a wife. All right. But it is a struggle of us being able to give too much too soon. And like I told you guys on the relationship live I did, I said, like, let me tell y'all something. I can clap for myself, because let me tell you something. Whatever I put my hands to, it's gonna be amazing. Baby, whatever I create, let's just be clear, it's gonna happen, you know? But I find myself, even sometimes in the dating space, like being that person, and you're not my husband. You know what I'm saying? Like, or even being that place, and we're not even in a exclusive dating space. But it's like, let me just help you and do all the things I'm doing, all of this. And I'm like, but what are you bringing to the table? Like, what are you doing? Like, I can't even get a good date. I can't even get a date. You know what I'm saying? I can't even get good
Mm.
conversation. But yeah, and still I'm over here trying to
Woo.
do all the things to make your
All
life
the things
easier.
being Susie
But
on
but but are you trying to make my life easier? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the part for me. It's like, I'm not saying that everything is gonna be a hundred all the time. There are gonna be moments where you may not be able to give as much as I'm able to give, and I'm cool with that. But I would say this, in the dating space, let me tell you something. We,
Ooh,
we
how
both
long?
deposit. And
Mm,
that's
it's a
why
good
that's
question.
why I'm saying that I'm not like, we need to go to the cheese, we need to go to like all these expensive places, right? Because I want us both to know we're both vested. I am a woman that I pay for dates. Now you might not be that person, but if you pay, I pay, you pay, I pay, we go somewhere, blah blah. Like, I'm that type of person. Like, we're both vested in this. Every woman is not. And if that's not you, that's fine. Keep scrolling. Don't comment. It's cool. But for me, and
Mm-hmm.
let me, I do this with my friends too, right?
Sure.
I'm that person that I feel like there should be, right, exactly. Where is the reciprocation? Like, we should.
Well, I have a different opinion. And
Okay.
so I will say that there is, as a woman, what I've experienced is a man who is ready and who is pursuing a wife, right? There's a level of like responsibility he assumes. And I'm not saying responsibility in as he got to pay for every date, right?
Mhm.
But his intention requires you to just be, right? His intention doesn't necessarily require you, because he's going to be a man who he does his own thing, right? So he's not saying, when you come over here, you gotta fold my laundry, and when you come over here, you gotta do these things, right? He only requires you to just be, which can be very hard for us as, overachieving entrepreneur. Let me young you, we want to fix your life, and we want to do all the things, right? The difference is someone who's like ready and who's pursuing you. They come, and there's a certain level of they got it together, and they really don't need you to operate in that space, so that you can simply enjoy each other, have conversation. And it's not, I need you in my space to do this thing, right?
Read this
That's
comment. I'm not gonna block you. You're
yes.
hilarious.
Then so,
Love
and that's real, right? And so, but when you meet an authentic, I think we've also gotten into this space where, because we are triggered, and because we have experienced people who maybe aren't authentic, right? We have a hard time recognizing authentic people. Or we've gotten into this I have a type thing, right? Where I have a type, and your type may not be good for you, right? You're
I feel
in
like
you're
we
in
only
this
meet
cycle.
I'll tell you this, I feel like we only meet representatives when we come as a representative.
Oh,
And I
because
think
that
some
you're
of us don't
attracting
are not
what isn't
I think we're
authentic,
not showing up.
as
I
our
think when
authentic
you
self.
show up with motives, when you show up unhealed, when you show up with things,
That's
like,
good.
I feel like that's where you're gonna meet a representative because you're showing up as one. And so the reality is that when we show up as our best self, like when I show up as my most authentic self, it's gonna pull the authenticity out of somebody else. And I'll be able to see
So
too.
this is good though, right? Right. Then he says, then when the bully comes out, then when the real you comes out, you turn into a whole bully. No, someone was triggered, right? Someone was triggered, and that's displaced anger, right? There's a triggering that happens. So, um, sometimes someone says something or does something that you aren't aware of, because you may have not have had the conversations, right?
Yes.
And you aren't in a space to have the conversation to dismantle whatever that anger is, right?
Yeah.
And so now you feel like, oh, this person's a bully. She ain't never fussed and cussed and act a fool like this before, and now I'm getting this. Well, somebody was triggered, something happened, right? Something happened, and we need to either go back and have the conversation and get to the root of what that thing is, and have the conversation about it.
She said, "How
And,
long into talking or dating do you believe you know if that person is the one for you?" I don't feel like there is
woo,
a I don't feel
it's
like
no
there's a
time.
time frame. I know Miss Tracy, she said he knows on the first date if he wants to get married. As women, when we are not aware of the of our value, we don't ask that question. I don't feel like
Woo!
there's frame where we know if that person is the one for us. But however, I do believe that it don't take years to know. You know what I'm saying?
No,
If that person is the one for you. Like you will know based off of your interactions, you will know based off of the intentionality of either person, right? Like I believe this, a person that wants you is intentional.
for sure,
Period.
for sure.
A person that is after you is going to be intentional, period. And that's on both ends. Women, we have to show up and be intentional about wanting a man to get us. These playing games ain't gonna work.
Oh, Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? Like we play a lot of games sometimes and we just expect for them to show up as their best self and we play games. And we can't do that. So if you want a man, let that man know you want that man. You know, it's nothing wrong with letting him know that he wants you and still requiring him to court you, right? It's nothing wrong with you letting him know that that you want him. But he just that you want him, but also requiring him to court you at the same time, y'all. So I don't think that it takes a long time. I need to see you mad without wigs and lashes. I don't need any surprises. And I think
Listen, but
that can
that's
happen.
no, you were like, that's really good. Like, I don't think it takes time. It takes that much time, but but I feel like that's a very twofold conversation, right? Because
Yeah.
if he knows, and he is treating you as a wife, you'll know. Like, you'll know the difference. If he
Yeah.
isn't treating you, if he isn't treating you as such, then it's probably because he doesn't see you as such. And we also have to know, and
Good.
when it isn't verbally communicated, right? Be willing to take the social cues and exit,
And
right?
exit. I
Be
think that's the
willing to
problem.
take the social cues and exit. Like, if you feel like you're a wife and he's not treating you as a wife, then you don't have to accept the treatment and you can choose to leave, right? Like, that's, it's very twofold. And if he is treating you as a wife, you also have to be able to recognize, then is he your husband, right? And are you treating him as such? If you treating him like he an option and he is side piece, and you aren't respecting him and honoring him in that way, it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
It goes
I
both ways.
husband loves you as Christ loves the church. Show up with your weaknesses, not your strengths. That's how you go to God. He's called to cover you. Absolutely. And I think
Mm,
that's the part too. I was thinking about that, how just a lot of times, ladies, like right now, like I get it, because we're in a space where we are forced to show up in certain ways, right? Some of
mm,
us are single mothers and we're dating, and so like we have to show up as the head of our household. We have to show up as like a different person. Some of us are entrepreneurs, and so we're bosses, and so we have to show up a certain type of way, right? And so sometimes those mannerisms and characteristics can carry over into our relationships, right? That's one part of it. But there's also the other part where I don't see men stepping up as men because you are afraid of being taken advantage of. And so I feel like women are being in this place where we're showing up and we acting like dudes, which I don't agree with
yeah.
that either. I don't want to be a man.
Ooh,
No way, shape, or form. All right. Y'all
it's
see
so
my
good.
status? We need men. We need y'all. But when I
Yeah.
need the men to act like men and I need women to act like women. And so now we're seeing a reversal where it's women that are acting like men and men that are acting like women.
Ooh.
It's some sassy ones out there. I can't. It is. The idea that a lot of you guys, like where's the drive? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm noticing where like women are out working and navigating and men are staying home. It is definitely so much to unpack. And so the reality the reality is that
Mm,
there's like kind of been like a swap where there's been a reversal. And like what I've been saying over the last couple of years is that like I really, really, really desire, I want to see men get back in their space. You know what I'm saying? Like I
yeah,
want
that's
men
true.
to get back into their place of authority. Money is not authority. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And like the only reason why women are dominating right now because women have learned how to penetrate the entrepreneur phase, right? And so because we've been able to
listen, boss, I'm
we're
tired.
making money, right? But
Woo.
being in that space and making the money doesn't mean I have the
Doesn't
authority.
mean you're a leader.
Doesn't mean
Or
I'm
and
nothing,
it, and
right?
it, and
I'm just
making
learning how
less
to make a
money.
coin. Go
Yeah, and
ahead.
making less money isn't a dictator of your leadership skills, right? Like,
Right.
I think there's this misconception that you can lead from the back. I made a post earlier. My daughter was the anchor leg, and so in track, when you're in a relay, right, she's the anchor, and so technically she's the last person, but she has an opportunity to do a couple of things, right, to cheer on the other girls as they do their laps, right. She can see the gaps, she can see what's happening, and then at the end of the day, she's still expected to do her best. So whether you're leading from the front, from the back, wherever you are in your team, right? In your household, no matter I don't care who's making more money, who work, who don't work, who whatever. I think our roles are still the same in terms of leadership. And I am very traditional in that way, that I do desire a man who is willing to lead. And by that I mean, when we talk about our goals, right? He's able to, one, articulate to me what he sees, and how he sees us executing that. And
Yeah.
it may mean, because, listen, I be having some lofty goals, and he may need to say, okay, I heard what you said, but we can't do that right now, right? It may mean, yes, okay, yes, your car need whatever. This is how we're going to execute it, right?
Right.
It's it's just a matter of one, when we talk about submission, submission works both ways, right? So am I submitting to him? Is he submitting to me? But all of it requires a conversation.
Yeah.
All of it requires a conversation. If I am tired, I also have to be willing to say, listen, I'm tired. I can't do that.
Right. I don't have
Same
the
to him.
capacity for that right now.
I
You
don't
know
have
what I'm
the
saying? Like,
capacity.
being honest about where you are, like, and this is my thing, like, if you
Oh,
cannot be honest with your partner, it's not gonna work. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying from the very beginning. If you can't show up as your most authentic self and feel like you're not going to be received being your authentic self, then that's just not your person. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But you should be able to show up as your most authentic self.
Yeah, but so
She
this is
said,
really good. A lot of
okay,
women say this until one walks in the room, then we're controlling and insensitive. That's not always true,
mm,
right? That's not always true. What can well I'll say this. Two things can be true, right? A woman who is not currently in her most feminine self, right? So her masculine self or masculine ways are showing up, may say things like that, right? Because her masculine is challenging yours. Yes. But right, you're a man who likes women and desires to cover and love and protect a woman won't come off as controlling and insensitive, right?
absolutely not.
Because he's also seeking to understand, right, so that he can provide and protect. And
Because oftentimes y'all do come off insensitive because y'all have this thing where I grew up with no emotions. And I'm not negating the fact, but as you get older, you grow up, right? And that's no longer excuse.
an
Just
excuse.
like I don't excuse ladies that say I grew up with no daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't excuse that. I don't excuse that either because either you want better and you do better. Go to counseling, get the help, get the therapy that you need to be a better partner. But we're not willing sometimes to put in the back end work of relationships,
Mm,
and so so we struggle to show up in those spaces. But any man that really likes you, that really loves you, that really cherishes you, baby, he not coming off as controlling or insensitive, right? Because sometimes too,
mm-mm.
y'all come out, it can be perceived like that too, based off of where we are in a relationship. So you done just did all the things, and then you think that you about to come in and just say X, Y, and Z, and you gonna say it any old kind of way, and I'm just supposed to listen to what you saying.
Whew,
I mean, let's go a little Bob. Loving kindness, have I drawn thee? Like you gotta, there's a way that you have to
there's the
speak
way.
and conduct yourself. Like treat people literally how you want to be treated.
Your love
And
for
so I
me
think sometimes we don't
supersedes.
right.
Yeah,
If we treated people how we wanted to be treated in relationships, we would go far. But I don't believe that you would talk to yourself like that. I would not, I don't believe that you would treat yourself that way. I don't believe that you would cheat on yourself. Huh?
wouldn't.
Right? Are you gonna
Wouldn't.
cuss yourself out? No. You're going to cherish yourself. You're going to take care of yourself. And so we took care of other people how we wanted to be taken care of. Then I think that we would be in a much better place. You have to know the identity of the male and the female based on the Bible and not culture. Submission is to come under the mission. He has to have a mission for you to come under.
For
Absolutely. There has
sure.
to be a plan. Copy. But are y'all willing to trust the man to guide you spiritually,
Spiritually.
financially, and emotionally?
Yeah,
I
because he's going to be able to articulate his plan, right? He's going to be sensitive to me emotionally because he knows I'm probably a more emotional being than him. So he's going to be able to articulate the plan for our finances, right? He's going to be able to share and be authentic in his spiritual walk and allow me to figure out if that works for me or not, so that I can come up under submission. All of those things, yes, can it's a matter of how he is leading in those spaces,
right.
right? How he's leading in those spaces. You said you curse yourself out all the time. Listen, but you know what? People can only love on the level. I realized some
That
years
say it.
ago that people can only love on the level in which they love themselves first.
Yeah.
For people who struggle with self image or having a hard time loving self, they are not going to treat you but so good. You can only love someone else on the level that you love yourself or less.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth. So someone who struggles with taking care of themselves and putting themselves first, they're going to do the same when it comes to you.
Yeah.
It's going
Well,
to show up in some way, shape, or form.
absolutely. And I'll say this too. It says, are you willing to trust a man to guide you? And absolutely. I'm willing to trust a man to do all of those things based off of how you communicate. based
But
off of
based off of how you're currently
and
doing it
based
for
right,
yourself.
and based off of how you absolutely are you
How
already
are
doing
you
it for
currently
yourself,
doing it
right?
for yourself?
But also it also comes into play like how you show up. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way you can ask a woman to trust you if spiritually you're not showing up well, financially you're not showing up well, emotionally you're not showing up well. I'm not going to trust you. Now, I'll say this. Are there going to be moments? Hear this. Are there going to be moments where it may be like, all right, you going through a little something, something. Okay, cool. But if this is a repeat behavior, or this is who you are, or this is how you always show up, absolutely not. But that's also happens in choice, right? And
Hmm.
who we choose,
Yeah.
which is why we always say you have to choose well. So this is
Choose
why the dating
well.
space is so important, because there's sometimes you don't have to ask the person no questions. You just listen. They tell on themselves. I listen to see how you are responding to other situations. I'm listening to how you've had how you've handled conflict with other people, right? Because how you
Mhm.
do one thing is how you do all things.
It's
It
how
ain't
you
gonna
do it.
change. So if you on the outs where everybody is always wrong, I know that when I marry you, guess what? It's gonna be the same thing. I'm always going to be wrong. So if we take the time to listen, not
Mhm.
sex, right? Come on, not sex over things, not eat out and we're eating up, all the time, but literally sit down and listen to
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right? Because it goes beyond favorite color and all the other kind of stuff, but being able to see how they handle conflict, how do they conduct themselves, even when they go out to eat, how do they
Mhm.
conduct themselves?
Yeah,
All
so and I always talk about like leading with love, right? So when we talk about like we have a hard time with leading with love because we want to lead with our traumas, right? We want to
yeah,
lead with all of the things that are wrong. We want to lead with like, let me tell you what happened so that you don't do the same thing. No, I want to lead with love first,
that's
right?
good.
Because love will cover a multitude. It won't make you blind, dumb, or stupid. Let's also clarify that. It won't do that, but it will allow you some grace, right? To see the person for what is happening and then to make choice.
Yeah.
See the person and then make choice. And seeking wise counsel. Like I think that's the
Please,
part that we and listen,
please, wise
don't and
counsel.
don't seek it and then don't listen because we talk about that all the time. Like, all right, friend, look, I gotta tell you what happened, and then don't listen to that near bit of the wise
Nothing.
counsel. I think Anthony O'Neill talks about that too, right? Like, and just being mindful of who you are asking because everybody don't need to know all
Yes.
your business. But being mindful of who you are sharing these things with that you're
Well, sometimes
experiencing.
people have triggers, y'all. Like
Ugh.
sometimes people are triggers, sometimes people have preference. And so they try
Mhm.
to put their preference off on you. And so you have to
Yeah.
be very careful about like who you're having conversation with about who you're dating. Like this is my thing. This is what I get people all the time, right? And they come to me with their scenarios about dating. They're like, what would you do if you was in this and if you were in this and what would you do? And I always tell people this is my answer. Okay. I don't know. Why? Because what you're graced for is not the same thing I'm graced for. What you're willing to put up with is not what I'm willing to put up with. What I have the capacity for is not what you have the capacity for. And so
For sure.
because our capacity levels are different, our preferences are different, what we're willing to put up with is different. I can't tell you what to stay in and what to get out of. However, if we are dealing with certain aspects of just like abuse, you know what I'm saying? Like it being able to recognize those type of things, absolutely. And I've had to give counseling, even in the position that I'm in. I've had to give counseling to people, and I'm just like, I don't think that you need to marry this person.
Yeah.
And it's based off of just this simple fact. And like I said, now it depends on, in what position, right? Because of course, from a pastoral standpoint, I got to be able to tell you, like, if it's not lining up with the scripture, you know what I'm saying? If their actions are not aligning and they're not even able to handle the bare necessities of your life, but yet you're still there, then I gotta be like, I maybe, or maybe this is just not the right time. Right. But being able to ask the questions, a lot of times people are able to come up with their own scenarios anyway. But again, what Brittany, like me and Brittany, we go back and forth all the time as it pertains to relationship because what she want and what I want is two different things. What
Mhm.
she desires, what I desire is two different things, right? the caliber of a man that I might date versus somebody else might date is two different types of man. You know what I'm saying? The
Mhm.
caliber of what I need is going to be different because I have to have a man that has the capacity to handle who I am.
Facts.
I know we don't like those type of conversations, but it's the reality of what it is, right? Is that you have to have somebody that has the capacity. BB used to always say, like, is their cup full enough to
Mhm.
handle you?
Can a pint person date a gallon person? And the reality
Right.
is
Because
that
it will never be
it's not
enough.
the case.
They'll
Mm.
never be able to give you what you need emotionally, physically, financially. Even in marriage, you put your trust in no man.
For
Absolutely. I
sure.
trust you, but my trust is in God. This is how forgiveness continues in marriage. You are still my brother in Christ, even as my husband in Lord Jesus. Absolutely.
Yeah, there was a podcast. I don't remember who it was exactly, but they said something very similar. And I think the nugget that I took away was that you are
That's
that
good.
God will like filtering sometimes your thoughts through prayer, right? Because sometimes the issues you have really isn't with the other person. I think the example that the lady gave was that the guy she was talking to, dating, engaged, I don't know what their situation was, but he snored. And she was like, listen, that thing was really bothering me. And I really wanted to, I think it was Fawn Weaver, right? And she was like, my husband snores. And it was like to the point where it was disturbing me. And I was like, and I would wake up angry. And I realized I had to pray and be like, Lord, like I really want to tell this man that he got to do something. Like I need him to leave the room. I need him to do da. And the Lord said, "Why don't disturb him? He's asleep. He's
Right.
resting. He feels safe. He feels he's in a good place. Don't mess with that man. Get you some earplugs."
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes we bring issues to our spouse or to our person that really aren't it's not a them problem. It's a us problem,
Who go
right?
deeper with that, please? Go
It's an
deeper.
us problem. And so
Please go
there are
deeper.
things that you
Beyond the
can resolve.
snoring.
Yes, there are things that you have an issue with that are simply a you problem. And the reality is that there's something in you that needs to be healed, or that's something that you can do physically, emotionally, whatever, to solve
Yeah.
the issue without ever having to involve the other person. And that
Yeah.
requires, I think, a level of just like perspective, right? And
Because you have
personal
your own
insight.
triggers. Talk
You
about
have your
like
own
because you have
triggers,
your own
and sometimes
triggers.
it ain't got
You
nothing to do
have
with
your own
them.
issues. And sometimes we're like trying to like push our triggers off on them. And it's like, no, baby, like that's a you problem, not
It's
a
a
them
you
problem.
problem,
And that's
not a
something that you need to work out with yourself.
with
They say
you.
one thing and all of a sudden your life is about to fall apart. And it's like, he not that other person. You know what I'm saying? She's not that other person. They are themselves. And I posted this the other day and I said, like, we have to get to a place. This is why you got to be healed, where we're approaching relationships not from your past point of view, right? Because that person is not that person. Like, that person is not the one that hurt you. They're not.
And you can't
And I know,
expect
and I know,
another
and I
human
know
to be
this
perfect.
is where it goes back to really quickly, where we have to fight the familiar, right? I've been teaching
Yeah.
on this last year because
Mhm.
sometimes we meet people and we've been hurt before, and so they say something or do something and it feels familiar.
Mm.
But just because it feels familiar doesn't mean that it is what it is. Okay, the children of Israel, right? When they came out, it felt familiar. So they wanted to go back to where they came from because
Yeah.
where they was at did not feel like what they thought that they were promised. And can I help you in relationships?
Ooh.
It's not always going to look like the promised land,
No, no, no.
right?
Use the word, right? It's not always going to feel
It's not
like
always going to feel like the promised land, right?
mhm.
But you have to get out of your feelings. You have
Get
to
out of your
fight the
feelings.
familiar. They're not that person. And so you might get in an argument and they may say something. And so all of a sudden, like, like, oh my God, you're just like such and such. And it's like, no, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? It just feels familiar to you. Now, if they're just like whatever, cool. All right. I'm not negating that there are some people out there, but a lot of times we self sabotage
But
And what
sometimes even that is a you thing, because you are,
it's
that
a good
means
thing.
something in you is still not healed, that you are attracting the same thing. And so if
Absolutely.
you find yourself in this cycle where you, and I say this because I think my experience of the last 2 years is that I have progressively attracted better people, right? And it's been a testament to like the internal work that I've done. And so it's like, oh, that's different. That's definitely an improvement from the last one, girl. Because baby, it was that last one was rough, right? And so when you get to that point where you're like, okay, we're making progress,
Yeah.
and what you'll see is like what like attracts like. And so as you begin to make progress, and a friend of mine told me this, like it must have been maybe over 15 years ago. She says, do you want to meet someone where you are now or where you're going? And at the time it didn't click for me. but
Yeah.
but she was saying that like you are evolving as a person and you're on a journey to do a lot of self-work, do the work. And then when you look at the caliber of person that you begin to attract, when you start to do that work, it's going to change.
Well, can we be honest? And I'll say this, and this is why dating is important, y'all. For those of you that are still watching, thank y'all for still hanging out with us. Sometimes you don't know how unhealed you are until you get in
Mm,
relationships. Um, Sometimes we don't realize that we're really not over a thing, that we really like swept it under a rug until we
mm,
get in relationships and we're really able to see. We're really able to see that I thought I was over this. And that's where you have to be honest with yourself and with the person, and don't continue
yeah,
in it like you're healed, because hurt people. You know what I'm saying? And so you'll drag them along on a journey of trying to work through all of your trauma. And so it's like when you notice the aspects and the parts of you that are like, hey, I'm really not healed. And you'll notice this before you get married. you know I'm really
mhm,
not healed, I'm not really in a good place. And I realize there's some work I need to do. And I think we need to be honest in those spaces where, hey, and that's why I said that dating is really about you. Like, you'll really find out so much. Like, I found so much about myself in the dating space. You know what I'm saying? Like, my likes, my dislikes, my triggers, the parts I thought I was healed, the aspects of my life that are hard. You know what I'm saying? The things that I thought that I was over or whatever, um, or the things that I like. I didn't know that I liked that. I didn't know I desired that. And BB has to get me. This is why accountability is so important, because my friend has to tell me all the time that just because you don't require a lot doesn't mean that you deserve the bare minimum. And you need to have friends in your life that are able
mhm,
to tell you that, friend, that's not enough, that I know you don't require a lot in the relationship space, but what they're willing to offer
mhm,
is the bare minimum.
yeah,
And you deserve more than that. And so oftentimes people that are like, I don't really like, I'm just like, whatever, it's cool, whatever. And then it's like, but since you deserve, but you deserve someone that's willing to date you.
mhm,
You deserve someone that's willing to take the time out
willing to
to
show
spend
up.
with you. No, I don't require a lot, but however, I do deserve someone that's willing to make me a priority. And so I'll make excuses after excuses after excuses. And my friend had to be like, but friend, no. If he wants you, he'll come get you. Friend, like, that ain't how you're supposed to be treated, friend. Like, and she have to keep me in line. This is why accountability is so important.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we deserve the best, right? And we deserve to be able to offer our best, which is why I feel like we got to be well. Like, seriously,
mhm,
we have to be,
yeah,
we
seriously.
literally have to be well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's like there's also this misconception that like that you have to be perfect. And I think like if you're going through therapy or any sort of self discovery journey, whatever that may look like, right? You get to a point where you're like, I'm ready for love, or and you make that determination that you're ready to love. I think as someone asked that earlier, like, are you ready to love? Being ready to love and being ready to be married to me are two different things, right? Because I like to lead with love. So I want to be in a space where I am willing to love all of the people that I come in contact with, right? And not just one or two people, right?
Yeah.
But the other parts of that is when you're talking about I'm ready to be married, you may not, and listen, because we're all on a journey. You may not be all the way there, but can you articulate where you are in the
Yeah,
process, right? And can you help the other person to love you in some of those other moments? Or can you listen, like I was dating someone and I didn't know that they suffered with like with depression. I didn't know. And it's like and I wish they would have shared that so that when an episode happened, I knew what was going on,
that's
right?
good.
And I'm not saying that we need all the nitty-gritty details, but if we don't know that that certain things trigger you, and sometimes you do know, right? But those are things that you have to be vulnerable enough to articulate to the other person so that they can support you and or get you help,
Yeah.
right? Because someone
Make it
who loves
safe.
you will
No, you
will,
do.
will
And
make
I'll
the
be
effort
honest. Ladies, we have to do a better job. I'm just gonna say it,
for
you
safe
know. We
spaces,
have to do a
boy.
better job at making it safe for our
Yeah,
men.
absolutely.
However, men, you have to also make it safe for the like this is why I say like we're so transactional that we're no longer relational, because everything is about ourselves and what we need and what we want and what we desire, instead of being to others what we want them to be. And so yes, we have to be able to, ladies, make it safe for them, right? And when they're vulnerable, you can't throw in their face, you can't throw in their face their vulnerabilities, you can't throw in their face the things that they have
Oh, listen, and I really want, I want to say all the things about
Right, but
this, right?
we're not gonna
I want
respond
to
to
say
that
all
comment.
I want to say all
But
the
we
things.
do. I want us, because I want us to have healthy marriages, y'all. And so here's the thing. Even with taking it slow and taking your time, like please take a proper assessment of what you come out of. So when you date and then you come out of the date and you're no longer dating that person, right? I need you to take a moment to process, right? What worked, what didn't work, what role did I play in this? Right? We got to be honest about the roles that we play in like something not working. And then sometimes, let's be honest, it just don't work. Like if
Yeah.
we're just like in two different spaces, you're here, I'm there, like we know it don't work. Like even now, like and now social media has made like long distance a thing,
Mm.
right? But if you know
Woo,
that you cannot handle long distance, don't get no long distance relationship, right? So being honest about like what do you have the capacity to handle? Let me tell you something, long distance costs money. And so who
baby.
got the money to be
Woo.
flying each other, to be flying out back and forth?
Oh,
And then ladies, you think you about to be getting flued out all the time? You know what
baby.
I'm saying? Like, so we just have to be really real about
And
what
where we
that
are.
looks like for us. And so like, are you ready to get married or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you ready for partnership is what I want to say. Are you ready for commitment? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you ready to merge your life with someone else? Are you ready to be selfless?
That's real.
Are you ready to be selfless and not selfish? Are you ready to be relational? Are you ready to be honest? Are you ready to communicate? And for
Yeah.
real, like, and so if those are those questions that I'm asking, and if you can't do those things, then you're not ready.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make everything about you, it's not gonna work.
No.
But I also don't want us to allow the fear of failure to keep us from
From
partnership.
amazing people.
Partnership is
Yeah.
amazing. It's just all about finding the right partner. You know what I'm saying? And not only just finding the right partner, but like finding the person that you know that you can grow with, right? Because who I am today is not going to be who I am next week, next month. But finding the person that you can grow with and that you can evolve with is key. So that's really all these are just
That was
these are the
good.
conversations that me and BB have on a
Was
not a
good.
day-to-day basis, but sometimes it do, because we're dating. And as we're dating, we are dating and processing. We're constantly having a conversation like, hey, do you think this is right? Do you not think this is right? Like, what do
Mhm.
you think about this? You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
like holding the
I
mirror up to self
best.
first. Yeah, like I think the biggest takeaway for me, like in this dating phase, has always been like holding outside of the other person, and I challenge you to do this, right? Like holding the mirror up to self, and what is it that you want, and being okay with when you share what it is that you want, and not being afraid to share that and to express that. And if the person isn't in alignment with that, then that too is okay. And
Yeah,
it's not, and you don't have to wait till things get toxic and bad before you walk away. Like you can walk away from a situation and be amicable, and y'all can still be friends. Now
yeah.
I will honestly say, like, I don't want no more friends, right? And so
No, I do
and
not.
so
I
because
got enough friends. I
yeah,
don't want
and
any more
and so
friends.
for me, a friend to me, um and for me, it's more or less like I want to be able to tell my husband and introduce you to my husband and say, hey, this is someone that truly is a friend. And if we were looking to date or we were romantic anyway, I don't want to disrespect him in that way and have him shaking your hand and y'all and we was cuddled up a couple of weeks ago. Like that ain't cool,
Yeah,
you know. Um, but yeah, it's a level of transparency that has to happen, a level of conversation that you have to be willing to have, and
yeah,
those things are not easy, but that is how you build. It's like and someone said it earlier. I think Ron said, like, let's build an empire. And to build business with anyone, to build something that's going to withstand, requires a lot of communication,
yeah,
requires a lot of working together, requires a lot of transparency about all of the things, right? Requires transparency in order to build it and build it well, right? We
yeah.
don't just want to build something that's going to be temporary and that's going to fall in a few years. I mean, and if you just want listen, if you here for a good time, not a long time, then also communicate that. But if you truly do want a marriage that's going to last, like, you have to be willing to be transparent, and being honest and
But can I
hearing each
Yeah,
other.
and I'll say this, I think in the dating space, like, I have learned, like, not to be in your feelings, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get in my feelings about things that don't work out, you know
No,
what I'm
I be in
saying?
my
Like,
feelings. I be
if it
having to get
don't
out of them, but
okay,
I
we gonna get
shorten
out.
up.
If it
I
don't,
be
you know,
I
if
be
it
all the
doesn't,
way.
and it doesn't mean I didn't like
Woo.
the person or I didn't cherish the relationship or I didn't desire the relationship, but I'm also not interested in being in spaces where I'm not wanted. You know, I'm not interested in being in spaces that just don't work. And
Yeah.
so because of just the way my personality is, um I when I know that it is what it is, then I just know it is what it is. You know, and there's no hard feelings. And I got people now like I talk to, love them. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the things, was thinking that we were building a life together. And I
Mm,
can I can pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, what you got going on? You good? All right, I'm good. Oh, what you need? All right, I'm cool." You know what I'm saying? Because I realize that every separation does not mean the person is not a good person. It just means you're just not my person.
you're
And I
just
think once we get to the place where we can understand that just because you separate from somebody doesn't mean they're evil. You know what I'm saying?
can
Because
you
what
can you
happens is
stay right there though?
we start to harbor. Listen, we start to
Listen,
harbor stuff.
I've
We get
improved. I've
offended, and
gotten better,
then
y'all.
but what happens when offense takes place? We take our offense out on other people.
For sure.
And so it's like then you get in another relationship and you're like, if you don't buy me flowers, if you don't get me coffee, if you don't do and do and then but then you don't like me. And it's like, stay, calm
No,
down.
that's fair. No, because if you not buying me
Brittany,
flowers and
I keep
coffee,
on
you
no,
do not
Brittany, I
like
keep
me.
on trying to tell you.
You don't like me. If I tell
Brittany,
you what I like,
no.
listen, all right,
Good
y'all.
night,
Now,
Brittany.
now drop this in the chat. If y'all with us, right? Drop this in the chat for me because I need clarity here.
Right, man. She be all in
And
her.
this may be an area of growth for me.
Okay,
Cool.
go ahead.
But if I tell you what I like, and you consistently are doing other things after I've given you the blueprint to the things that I like, you don't like me. You don't like me. You're
Okay.
not my person.
All right.
You
So
don't
I
like
can
me and
say
you're not
that.
my person.
Okay. If you giving them the blueprint, but what they can't do is read our minds. So
No,
you
no, no,
can't
no,
get
no. Right.
upset about
And so
something
like
that you
and
just
I
will
purposely
automatically
post, I
do.
purposely do certain things so that you know what I like.
No,
If you ask me, do you
no,
like flowers? Yes,
no,
because if you ask me
no,
if I like
Brittany,
flowers, listen, if I post garden stuff all the
Brittany,
time, there's
no.
no question about me
That
liking garden stuff.
No, Brittany, you have to communicate.
Oh,
We just talked about communication.
Lord of
You
mercy.
have to communicate with them what
Oh.
you like. I don't care how many we post a lot of things.
Communication
I don't
plus
care how
use
many
your
times
context,
I
please.
post strips, right? I need to still let this man, I need to let this
Yes,
man know
book the
I like
flight.
going on trips.
Book the flight,
Book
Stay.
the
Yes.
flight. I want to be outside. You know what I'm saying? I gotta tell the truth. But
How
I
many
can't
times I
because
gotta
you
say?
post
How
it.
many times do I have to post? I need a vacation, or hold? How many times do I have to drop that in the chat,
Brittany.
in the text? Where he's like, "What's wrong?" I
Okay,
need a
listen.
vacation.
Now, if you communicate it, that's one thing. But if you, but we can't expect something that we have not communicated. It's not
For
fair.
sure, for
We
sure.
can't. We can't. We can't. But yeah, y'all, that's all we came to talk
Well,
about
let me
tonight.
put my list. I'm gonna post my list.
Okay,
So
Brittany's gonna
anybody who
post
has
her list. If there's anybody out there,
has
Brittany
a
is
question,
single.
who
Um,
has a question
so
about the
she's gonna
things that
post
I
her list
like.
for y'all tonight, or maybe another day. Y'all
Oh,
decide if y'all want to be on her roster.
oh, Jesus. The
Oh,
roster
okay, y'all. Listen,
listen,
this
I am
has been
trusting God. I'm trusting God this year that
I believe in
that
God too. I
God is
believe
going to do
God.
something
Let me
amazing.
not. I'm not gonna say
I'm in
that.
an amazing space, and what I will say is this: that I appreciate the folks who are showing up with intention, and they know
Yeah.
what they want. And we can have hard conversations. And so, listen, it's given. Just pop out and
I'm
be married.
definitely popping out married. All right, now we about to go, but I'm telling y'all now, I can't. Don't get mad if you don't get an invitation. Okay, don't get mad if you
Listen.
just see me one day and I'm married. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. I agree. If you want, if I tell you what I like and or show you a leaf hints, and you don't pick up, you are. Oh, Grace said, "I'm believing for you, BB." Then you are paying. Then you are paying attention. I mean, even the leave hints thing. I'm not a leave hints type person either. I'm gonna tell you what I want, what I desire, what I like, what I don't like. So there is no ifs ands buts about it. And so
I
this
mean,
is
the
one thing.
hints are pretty solid.
Let me
Listen,
tell you why
right?
I have no
The
interest
hints
in
are
a
pretty solid. The hints are pretty solid because if I am posting my most authentic self, and maybe this is where people are going wrong, right? If I'm posting my most authentic self, and some people are
relationship.
posting things that other people are doing, right? That's not authentic to what they truly like. So when they get it, it's like this is weird, right?
Yeah,
Like I don't understand this. I will say, and then it's also based off of like how you were brought up, things that you're used to, whatever. Like
right.
there are some women who are weirded out by a man who opens their doors. I at 35, if I'm driving, what I can say is that my dad would still open my door, right?
Right.
Whether I'm driving, he driving, whatever. That's just something that I was brought up with. That's something that I'm used to. And to me, it is the exact opposite. If I'm with a man and he don't open my door, I'm like, what's wrong with you? What happened?
Right.
Like where did somebody fail you? And I will even say like down to teaching my daughter the same way. She was talking to this young man, and I was like, I have a problem if he can't come, if he can't walk you to the car, if he can't walk to the door and knock on the door like that, like why that's not the standard that we have, right? And so
Mm.
if I am posting things that I like and you aren't willing to learn me and study me, just like I am learning you and studying you, what are we doing?
Mm. I can I mean, I can see it. I'm also a very straightforward type person, so you ain't never gonna have to guess with me. I'ma just tell you what I like, what I don't like, and keep it moving. But I feel like,
Listen,
everybody
if
has
you don't realize
but
that I
again,
get my
everybody
nails
has
done
their
every
thing.
4 or 5 weeks, if you don't realize that I get my nails done every 4 or 5 weeks in the week that I and you can't pick up on, oh, them nails look like that for the last couple of weeks. She probably about ready to get her nails done, and you don't say, and I'm not saying you got to pay for the nails. I'm not saying that, right? But I'm saying if you wanted to do something nice for me,
Yeah.
right, and you wanted to do something that you know I would appreciate, don't go and buy me a Snickers. You ain't never seen me buy one of them. You ain't never
Right.
seen me go by.
She
You
said,
ain't never
"This is
seen that.
really," she said, "This is really good. Communication is key. Sometimes asking them if he or she knows what you like would help."
Mm,
Yes, to know if he or she is listening.
just
Absolutely.
listening.
And I
Yeah.
believe in that. If you're having conversation and sometimes, especially in the beginning, y'all, I think sometimes we just throw people away in the very beginning without like just give it a real chance. You know what I'm saying? Like we are two, this is what I had to learn in the dating space, y'all. Let me help you. We are two totally different people from two totally different backgrounds. We don't know nothing about each other. You know what I'm saying? And to think that this person is just going to
It's
know
just
all
gonna
of the
know.
things is wild. You know what I'm
Crazy.
saying? So it's
It's
like you actually have to
crazy.
give people the chance to like get to know you without your feelings being involved because like, oh, you don't know X, Y, and Z. And so the best way is like when you're having conversation, asking the person like, well, what did I, well, what did you hear me say? You know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
what
that's the one. Yes. No,
what did
that's
you
the
hear me
one.
say?
What did you
Because a
hear
lot of
me
times in
say versus what
communicating,
I
like,
said?
right, because sometimes there's like a gap between like that in that communication, and it's like
From your
you
lips to
thought I
my
was
ears.
saying one
Oh,
thing, but that's not what I was saying.
baby.
You know what I'm saying? So I need you to be able to like,
Hmm.
if I'm saying X, Y, and Z, like you're taking it as like I don't want you, or I don't want to be with you, or like I don't want you to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm just saying, hey, like boom, 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 whatever. So being able to articulate and be like, hey, like what did you get from what I said? You know what I'm saying? Like, so just to make sure that we're on the same page, like being able to have check-ins. I'll say this, like I was telling somebody this the other day, and then we're about to get off of here. We can talk about this all night. But I think that the parts of communication too is being able to, at every moment, at every transition, at every change, being able to have conversations. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like when
Hmm.
things are altering in your life and you're having life-changing moments, they deserve a conversation. And I think
Hmm.
because we're not having conversations in those transitional moments, like things get lost. You know what I'm saying? So like when you're dating, it's different. Once we get married, it's different. Once we get married, we have kids, it's different. Once you get a new job, it's different. We go
Hmm.
to new church, it's different. Like I'm doing more stuff. I'm an entrepreneur, it's different. And so,
Yeah.
like being able to articulate what are your expectations out of me?
In this moment, and what are your needs in this
Yeah.
moment? Because they
What are your
they
needs in this moment? You know what I'm saying? So that I know I'm meeting your need and I'm not trying to like go after, this is so good that I'm not just trying to go after your wants, but that at least at bare minimum, I'm meeting your need. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because there are going to be moments and times as we are navigating relationships that, and even in the dating space, like where I can't give you, like right now, I can say for the next month, the next 2 months, I'm literally gone every weekend. If I was dating someone, we would literally have to have the conversation about what does that look like. You know what I'm saying? We work all week and I'm literally gone every single weekend for 2 months.
Mhm.
So it's like we would have to have some type of conversation about what does that look like for us? Like how do
Mhm.
we make this work? What pockets of time are we going to put in to make sure that we're not losing our relationship and we're having the proper communication? But if we didn't have the communication, there's so much of assumption and offense
Ooh,
that can creep in when you don't have the conversation.
yeah,
And so being
that's
able to
true.
understand where you are in a moment, like right, like if my kid is playing a sport, like it's crazy right now, but then like maybe the summertime,
Mhm.
it's downtime. So let's just being able, like again, all in all, the only thing we're trying to say is that communication is key. Like
Yeah.
communication is absolutely important. And if we're not going to have the proper communication, then our relationships are not going to last. It's not going to lead to marriage. But we got to be able to communicate.
Whew, this was really good. This was really good. I know we had these
Yeah.
conversations internally, but like it's good what we can share, and hopefully, we can have more conversations like this as we seek. I don't know. Like I'm really trusting the Lord. That I'm just gonna pop out. I'm just gonna pop out married to somebody and
Yes,
let the rest of the
Lord.
world figure it out
Oh,
later.
do it for me. Yeah.
But listen, y'all, that's it. Good night. I'm going to bed. It's 10. I was having a real live like personal date night. I might go continue.
Okay, go back to your little date night. But thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for y'all comments and communication and being a part of this
Question.
conversation. And I mean, we're gonna come on and we'll have some people that'll come on with us. I got some people in mind that I want to bring on, like, and we'll have some men next time that'll be able to kind of level out the conversation too. But I feel like we have to have more of these conversations and be extremely candid about the relationship space. I'm telling you guys now that like this year is like the year for partnerships, period. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
This economy is going, the way this stuff is going. I'm not saying get married just for the simple fact, y'all. I'm not saying get married only for that, right? But I will say this is that for us to understand that marriage in partnership is important, you
yeah.
know,
There's
and
a level of favor that I hope that more men get to experience when they're connected to an amazing woman that they can trust with a seed. And we're not just talking about babies, that they can trust with the seed of their dreams, of their truest heart desires, and she helps them to bring it to fruition. Um, yeah, y'all. That's it. That's all I got for tonight.
yeah, that's it. So we love y'all so much. We'll come back on again and have this conversation. But we love y'all in real life. That's why we came on. All
Love
right. So
y'all
y'all
for
have a
real,
good
real
night.
life.
If you follow Life at the Well, y'all know we got prayer in the morning. So y'all go to bed, set your alarm, set your notifications.
Ooh, yeah, let me do that right now.
6
Y'all know I
a.m.
struggle on
Y'all know BB
Friday.
y'all know BB is
Ooh,
struggling in the morning. We still praying for her.
please, y'all, pray for me on
Oh
Friday
yeah,
morning.
y'all.
I be
We love
struggling.
y'all. Y'all have a good night. And like we say on Life at the Well, we tell y'all just be